What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another review of Loki, episode 3. What's
What's going
happening?
on?
Hey, this is a really, really, really good episode, in my opinion. What did you think about it?
This was up there. You know what's crazy? Last week's episode was not bad. So every week, like my scores are going up higher and higher. Um, but I don't know, like I kind of just want to give the show a 10. Do I have to give the episode a 10?
I think, I mean, it works out in that regard. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like the show, well, this episode in particular um, is weird because it's the mid season, technically, and it was a solid entry, and it also changed and confirmed a lot of things and a lot of the speculation and rumors about the origin of certain characters. The TVA, Lady Loki, as we found out, was not being, in fact, Lady Loki. It was actually Sylvie, and just a lot of things. And I feel like this is it kind of subverts expectations in a good way, because this episode was not the direction I thought they were going in with the show, but it was really good. Like it the revelations that we got in the episode, the character reveals, the added plot details, adds more complexity and layers. And like now I'm just like, yo, it's it's opened up a lot of possibilities as to what could be going on. So I'm excited to talk about this episode.
I am. Have you ever watched a show where they have an episode that's very informative, but it's still boring because the action wasn't what was important? It's about what the information that it gave. This
Yes.
was not that. This was
Yeah.
a very informative episode because, I mean, in reality, there wasn't much evolution as far as what Loki and Sylvie did in the episode. Like they didn't actually accomplish anything, but we got so much backstory. We know more about how, certain powers work, how the TVA's gear works, about the TVA agents themselves. This was a really good episode. And then just also thoroughly exciting, like to see this moon, Lamentis one. Is this the first time we've heard about this planet in the MCU? This moon?
In the MCU, yeah, 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 for sure. And I didn't even look at the origin of the planet because I'm not familiar with this planet.
I'm not either, but I'm wondering if we're going to see more of it at some point. Like, are we going to get to see what causes? Like, the fact that a planet is crashing into a moon seems like a really big deal. So, I paid a bit of attention to that, and I wouldn't be surprised if, like everything else that happens in the MCU, it comes up and is important later.
Yeah, I would. That's well, that whole. So the planet itself, I'm not sure how significant it is in Marvel, but Lamentis as a name is interesting because like it's. I think the root is like lament, and in lament, like what is that? When you lament something,
I just looked it up and
grief, right?
yikes. I mean, that episode was full of that. I feel
It
bad for those people.
It was, and so I'm not sure. Maybe the planet was created for the episode. It might exist. I would need a Marvel head to tell me what what the origin of that planet is, if it has any significance in the MCU or well in Marvel in the comics. Um, but good thing we talked about it last week on the episode 2 review, which was the origin of Sylvie, who she could be, because um, we were left on the cliffhanger that it was Lady Loki. Everyone in the TVA was under the assumption that she was a variant, or at least we were led to believe that they believed she was a variant of Loki. And it was revealed in this episode that she is not a variant of Loki. She is actually a different character entirely, named Sylvie,
Was
who
it revealed in this episode that she is not a Loki, or was it revealed in this episode that she does not want to be known as Loki anymore? I don't think they confirmed to the people who are not in the know that she is not a Loki. Of course, and now I know that she isn't. But I don't think this episode really cleared it up yet.
Yeah, well, she did say that she wasn't a Loki. Because every time Loki called her Loki, she said, "Don't call me that." And then in this episode, she finally was like, um, "I don't go by Loki. My name is
Anymore.
Sylvie anymore." Did she say anymore?
She said anymore. Although
Which is
we know where
confusing.
they're going with it, I don't think in this episode she truly revealed that she is not a Loki. I think she's getting towards it, but it's clear that she's still pretending to be someone who was a Loki at least.
I hope that's not the case because like she is a character. I mean, she is Enchantress like in the comics, and she's very important. Well, not really important, but she was created technically, or at least gifted her powers by Loki in the comic books. And her origin, when she's talking to Loki about who she is and where she comes from, like it is on par with Sylvie, the character from the comic books, and Enchantress. Like the origins match. Like her ability. One of the key things about Sylvie is that she wasn't properly taught magic. Like she never everything she does she's done on her own. All Loki did in the comic books was just gift a mortal powers of a god because he was just curious as to what it would do. So there's it's a possibility that an older version, a different variant of Loki created this Sylvie, and she did something, and now she's stuck in this TVA thing. I don't know. I don't know where all of that's going. I hope it doesn't get too complicated and too complex. Like I think there's still room for a Lady Loki because in the comics there was a time that Loki was a female, but it was just Loki occupying the vessel that was for Lady Sif. And so I don't know. I hope I hope.
I can agree with you that Marvel never actually said Lady Loki. The people saw her picture and just assumed who she was. I agree with you that that's where they're going towards. But to the people who are not in the know, this episode did not say, like, I am not Loki. This episode was more so, I don't want to be known as a Loki. That's what she reinforced in this episode. But I do feel like it's coming.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting too that in the episode, like, because I keep the sub captions on, and like before the name reveal, like there was no name by her dialogue. It was just she was just speaking, and then as soon as she revealed that her name was Sylvie, the dialogue line changed to Sylvie, and then from there on out, it was Sylvie, and then colon, and then it was what she was saying, and then Loki, of course, always has his. So like, I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm feeling like it's. I don't think that that's a ruse. I think that's just part of the TVA wanting, for whatever reason, the audience and Loki to believe that this was a female variant of Loki. I
And
also
I,
can't trust. I also can't trust that she's being completely honest. Neither is Loki
oh, she's
about a
definitely
lot of things. Like,
nothing. Like, does Loki really want to just meet the timekeepers? Like nobody is telling the truth. I definitely don't believe anything that she says. Um, yeah, I mean, she's just absolutely not being forthcoming. If you already know where the show is going towards, then you know that we understand why she's, excuse me, trying to destroy the sacred timeline. But I just don't get why she won't say anything. I don't know. I feel like if Loki knew the truth, he'd be more inclined to help. If anything, they're just sabotaging by not working together. Also, the conversations about love in this episode are really cute.
yeah, they're like, I don't know. They're both, they're not trustworthy either way, and I don't think they trust each other. And it's that whole love dialogue, which to your point, that it's an analogy to how they operate anyway. Like so, it's whatever is going on between them. It's not even, you can't even concretely say is there. Like I think the whole, and even really that is an analogy almost to the entire show thus far, especially with what we just learned about the TVA, or at least the agents of the TVA, the timekeepers and TVA have been, yeah, the plot surrounding them has thickened as well, because it was revealed that the TVA agents are not created by the timekeepers. They were actually humans, which I thought was interesting, because why is everyone in the TVA a human in the first place? Like, I always thought that was strange, but
There was
that
one,
answered.
there was a scroll, a variant scroll, but definitely not an agent.
Yeah, they was somewhat. It was a scroll they had captured though, right? Like, but that's the thing. Like, maybe they convert the. Maybe they don't hold anyone captive there. They just convert them into agents, and then they become TVA agents.
I mean, that's the type of captivity. We see it in this episode. The agent, what was it? C20. I think her name was C20. You see C20 enjoying a margarita, clearly a place that she recognizes. She even says it. That was my first, okay, they're going there in this episode. They're going to let us know what's up with the TVA. And then later in the episode, Sylvie mentions how far back she had to go in order to find that memory in C20's mind. She said hundreds of years, right?
Yeah, yeah, something like that.
C20 has been working for the TVA for hundreds of years. That to me sounds like captivity, and she's definitely not there willingly. What's crazy is it immediately made me think about Ruby, aka B15, and I'm just like, well, what's
Where
she
did she come from?
right?
Like, who is
She
she?
finds out that she's gonna be upset.
Yeah, for real. She's gonna be, man. That's gonna be wild if, like, if they find a way to wake them up. But that I thought that was also interesting in the was it episode 1, where Mobius was looking at those like ads for jet skis back from the 90s. Like, everything, all his entire aesthetic was from the 90s. Like, he must be some variant of somebody on Earth from in the 90s, like, who probably enjoyed jet skis and other things. Like, they probably have retained some of their identity and some of their, like, characteristics from their previous life, but they've all been brainwashed. But that makes me wonder if Ravonna is a brainwash agent, or is she working directly for the timekeepers and knows exactly what's going on, because she seems to be way too in the know about things to be a variant.
I mean, like you said last week, she's the only person who's actually seen the timekeepers.
Allegedly, right? And it seems like to this episode would confirm that, yeah, like, that's probably why she's the only one, if that is true. Because she's probably working with them directly. Like, whatever scheme and plot they've got going on is I'm definitely intrigued as to how all of this unfolds. And, like, it seems like the rumors about the King the Conqueror tie-ins and connections to the show, I mean, I feel like this episode kind of sort of opens that up even more. That potential, like, I don't think we'll see Jonathan Majors appear as King, but I don't think it's outside of the realm of possibility for, like, a mention or a name drop of the character.
What episode? What film was he casted for?
Quantum Mania.
Dang.
But they had was when they made that casting announcement, they had already finished filming this show. So, like, I don't think he's going to appear, but it also doesn't necessarily mean we won't see a variant of Kang or a version of Kang, because he's Kang is also a character that's also had multiple appearances and different iterations throughout the comic book history. So, I mean, they could have a different version or variant of Kang appear in the show, and then Jonathan Majors Kang would appear in Quantumania, and it would still canonically work.
As excited as I want to get, since we're not going to see Kang in this show, well, probably not, then I'm not going to get myself too hype about uh, um, the truth about the timekeepers coming to light, at least, like, or everybody letting go. Maybe that might happen at a later point, or them, like, what am I trying to say? All the TVA agents, like, letting out the truth or whatever they will have you. I am gonna treat this the way I should have treated WandaVision, and that the show is about Loki and his growth within himself. I'm just going to leave it as that. I'm not going to speculate, even though I've been doing a lot of speculation. I said I wouldn't do. I'm not going to dig too deep into the timekeepers and the TVA. I'm going to let this be about Loki's growth. But I am concerned about how they're going to survive this. Like, what are they? Actually, that was the question I had. Previously, Loki could use his power to just transport himself anywhere. Why is he not doing that now?
Because he's the god of mischief. Like he's trying to get her to confess or do something. Like he's got to clear out. Like he can teleport himself off the planet like easily. Um, I don't think I think what happened as far as the ship getting blown up and everything that happened in the end, maybe even the entire location is a fabrication of Loki. They might still be on the train because Sylvie fell asleep while Loki was drinking the wine, and then when she wakes up, Loki's up singing, and it's possible that like in that moment, like from there on out, everything was an illusion created by Loki.
Dang.
As I mean, I either because I don't know how else they're gonna get off of the planet alive. Like I mean, I don't
If you're
something unless the TVA, unless Mobius shows up, he somehow figures out that they're on Lamentus, in the nick of time and is able to take them both back to the TVA or something. I don't know. I think those are the only two outs that I can foresee. They could also come up with something else that I'm not, privy to, and I would be okay with. But right now, I don't know how they're going to get off of the planet.
I definitely like your idea that Loki is just waiting for her to confess everything. And if she's truly feeling doomed, because I mean, she looked pretty doomed at the end of this episode. If she's truly feeling like there's no way out of this and there's nothing left that she can do, no way off the planet, she would probably tell Loki everything. Like, I'm going to die anyway. So this is what you ruined. This is the plan that I've been building to, and this is why I've been doing it, and this is the truth, yada yada. And then he'll be like, all right, fine, let's go. So he may not be able to transfer back to the TVA. I don't think he can get himself there, but he could probably save them.
He could get them off the planet at the least, like get them to a another location, um, which I don't. That's all. See, this is where all the time stuff is getting strange because, um, like where are they in the timeline? Well, no, it is 2077 on Lamentus. So, because I'm like, yo, he could even technically contact Heimdall depending on what time period they're in and use the
Yeah, I was thinking
Rainbow Rosen
that.
Bridge.
Is he dead now?
In 2077 he should. I don't know if he's alive in that year. You know what I'm saying? Like if this, let's say this is a universal year, 2077. That's beyond. I mean, Asgard's already destroyed. So, I mean, I can't see that. Did he die in?
I was just about to ask you.
Did he die though? I can't
While
remember if he died or not.
I'm gonna Google it. While we're on the topic of Asgard, I definitely think Loki doesn't believe that Sylvie is who she says she is.
No.
Because he tested her in this episode and she failed. She did not know the Asgardian song. I don't even think she speaks the language. Like the fact that they did not give us subtitles. Also, if you're not watching those shows with subtitles, you should, because there's a lot of little clues in there. When he was singing the song, the English parts were there, and then when he started singing in Asgardian, there were no subtitles. We have no idea what he was saying. And Sylvie was looking at him clueless too. She had no idea about the song, what was happening. And we, the audience, didn't either. And I think that was for good reason.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, if it is Sylvie though, Sylvie's technically not an Asgardian, so she wouldn't know the language. Like she's from Oklahoma, in
Right.
the comics at least. So you know what I'm saying. So, I mean, I don't. Well, I know he knows that she's not a Loki. I think he's testing to see if she is technically a version of Loki. I think he's been doing that since episode 2, once he found out she was variant, because he kept saying things like, "Oh, I wouldn't do that to myself," or like, you know what I'm saying, like those subtle clues. Like I don't think it doesn't matter if it's a variant of Loki. Like Loki's mannerisms are going to be Loki mannerisms, you know.
Yeah. Today
So
she couldn't dress.
she can what?
He said style was one of the things that Loki has, and she didn't even respond. Now, I'm sorry. If somebody says I'm supposed to have style and I think I have style, I'm taking that as an immediate diss, and I'm fighting back. What you mean I can't dress? She ain't say nothing.
Yeah, yeah, because it's they're not. She's not a Loki variant. It does not necessarily mean that she isn't a variant, but I don't believe her to be a variant of Loki. And it could be she could be an older Sylvie, you know, because when Sylvie was introduced, I think she's a younger character because I believe she was a part of the Young Avengers at one point. So it's possible that we are seeing an older version of herself who already knows her origins and knows that Loki created her and is not telling him all of that detail because that like, you know, I don't know. But I guess it's going down like a rabbit hole of things. But I think you're right that Loki's been testing her, but he's testing her to see if she is actually a Loki variant. And I think by the end of next week's episode, he'll definitely know for sure. I think he already knows, but I think for the audience that will be confirmed.
I think at this point, all he wants to know is what she knows.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And like at this point, he knows she's lying. So now he's just got to figure out a way to tell her the truth. And hopefully we get to that. There's actually a clip that was going around or not a clip, like a picture before the show came out of Loki and Sylvie sitting down. That's when people thought she was Lady Loki. They were like sitting on a log looking at like a purpley blue sky and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That absolutely has to be Lamentus 1.
Yeah.
So what we saw was a clip from next week. They're going to be just sitting down and talking, and hopefully, Loki is using that time to get information out of her.
Yeah, and I thought that was the planet where the Soul Gem was,
Mm-hmm.
because I mean, this like
Vormir.
visually, yeah, Vormir. Like I thought, I mean, they look a lot alike, but now seeing Lamentus, I'm like, okay, that was. And then it wasn't actually. I don't think it's a log or a stump. I think it's that little when she, when she screamed and like all of a sudden there was that like uh mound of dust from the planet
Mm-hmm.
that become. I think that's where they were sitting. I guess they're going to go back in the direction that they came. I don't know, or maybe she'll do that little scream again. I have no idea. But like right now, they're in a weird space, and I kind of felt like um that whole hijacking of the ship was like unrealistic in the time that we had left in the show. Because like when they came up with that plot, I had to like pause the video, see how much time we had left, and it was like 11 minutes and 30 seconds. I'm like, there's no way they're gonna hijack that ship in that 11-minute time period. Like I just can't see that. Like that would be crazy.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting it to get destroyed the way it did, but that was quite the shock. I was in the living room looking the same way how everybody was just stuck staring up at it. That's exactly how I was looking at the TV, because
Yeah.
there's no way, even if they did make it to the ship on time, they weren't going to stop that from happening no matter what. So
No,
yeah,
no.
they did all of that running around, and that was bound to happen regardless. That was nuts.
Yeah, and it's like it's strange because one, well, possibly Loki on the ship when he took off his disguise, because he transformed himself to disguise. And also back to the what's the device that he allegedly broke.
Uh, I forget.
The temp pad. I think it's right.
Yes.
The temp pad. It's. I don't think. I don't. I just don't feel like it's broken. It didn't make sense because his illusion magic. I think, isn't that like technically a portal? He sends it to another dimension and then he's just recalling it. I think that's how that works.
Yes.
So how
Ooh,
did he
so he
break
was
it? Like
faking
I
that.
think so. Like it doesn't make sense. Like because it's not on his person. Like the daggers and all of that stuff, everything that he conjures with his magic. When you conjure something, like you're recalling it from a separate dimension. Like that's how conjuration works. It's not on you, on your person. It's just you have access to a different dimension, and you're conjuring things from that dimension into your real space. Like that's how conjuration magic works. So I maybe the temp pad, I kind of felt like that was fishy. Like I'm like, he fell, it's not in his back pocket. He reaches behind like it's in his back pocket, but you see his conjuration spell and he pulls out the broken temp pad. Like all of that was an illusion. Like I that's possibly illusion. That's at least where I'm going with it. That's my other. So that's my third theory, I guess. The one, the whole situation of the ship uh, being destroyed is an illusion. What was the second one I said? Oh, that Loki can just teleport them off the planet.
Yeah.
And then so the final one is the temp pad thing. Like I just don't see that actually having been really destroyed.
You don't hear that? I apologize.
No, I didn't hear anything.
Oh, okay. Never mind. Continue.
um, yeah, I mean that's it. Like that's where my head is, at least with where they're at thus far. Like either way, I just don't feel like um, they're in real danger because Loki is way too calm in the situation. Like he's not upset at all at the predicament. Like understanding that if their lives are really in danger and that he could die, like you know how much of a frantic
He should be
panic
losing.
he was
And he's
like in that first episode when he saw the other variants getting like zapped away, and then he like like he's way too calm. He's acting way too calm.
next episode, Sylvie's gonna spill her guts, and then he's gonna be like, "All right, we're out," and then they're gonna fight.
Yeah.
It's not gonna like end in anyone dying, but she's gonna be pissed. Oh, now I'm more excited for next week. Just thinking about that. This episode gave us a lot of information, but and it was very exciting. I don't know. I don't have too much to say. I just want to watch next week. Like how you spoke about WandaVision just kept us guessing. Although I don't exactly know what's going to happen next week, this show answers a lot of questions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like at this point, I don't have many more. I just want to know what's next. Like they wrap up things pretty well in this show. If it ends in a cliffhanger, I don't think I would be surprised, but I'm gonna have an attitude because the whole show, hasn't been like that.
I don't think so. I don't. Mm, I think it will be a cliffhanger, but I don't think it's going to be like. I I think it's just. I think it'll end open ended so that we know that there's a season 2 coming. Like I think it will resolve everything that happens within the show, but it'll just set up things for a season 2 and maybe set up some things that will happen or need to be answered in other movies. Like it's possible that the sacred timeline will be destroyed in this series and it will end like that, which would softly set up something like Quantumania or Multiverse of Madness. It's not like you need to watch Loki to understand what's going on, but at least you know why and what the multiverse in that show is and how all this exists. If there's a Kang reference, or some sort of connection there, then it would kind of sort of inform you a little bit when you go to watch Quantumania. You'll have some context for what Kang may be attempting to do in that movie. There's also, I mean, depending on what they do with the character of Ravonna, because she's a love interest for Kang. So like it's interesting that she's in the show at all. So yeah, I mean, whether or not that's a variant of her or if it's really her, like it's interesting that she's in the show. Point blank period. And then her having that agent that that other agent that she was talking to when Mobius went into her office, and he asked her like, where did that trophy come? Like I don't remember getting that trophy or something to that effect, and she said something about her other agent.
Yeah, like you're not the only person working for me. I'm worried about the TVA agents because that's not like although what Wanda was doing to those people was pretty wild and they have every right to be upset. if all those people are just basically being held against their will in the TVA and they, are somehow let out of that trance, they're going to be
Completely
beyond
lost.
this. Like, where are they going to go? What live are they, like, how do they get back to where they're supposed to be? Is that even a thing? Is that possible?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what's going to happen to all these people? I'm concerned about that.
Yeah, I mean it's a real issue, but it's like it's a seemingly realistic possibility that, like, I mean, they are just going to be out there in the world. Um,
Doing what? With what money? What job they going to have?
exactly. Like,
You
I mean,
already don't have enough.
it seems like the TVA exists outside of the timeline anyway. So like, if the TVA is defunct or destroyed, like there's no, how do they get back to where they were and who they were? But they're variants of themselves, so they can't really go back. Like, do they go back to their variant timeline and live out their life in the variant timeline? Like, because that's what I'm starting to feel like the sacred timeline is going to be possibly will end with this season and with the series. And um that whole thing about free will that Loki was talking about, this is like subtle context clues with the, because it is about Loki, but it's um I feel like a lot of what he was saying and what he was talking to Mobius about is there's subtle context clues for what could possibly happen in the show.
I do have a theory. It just came to mind. In the episode, in the first episode, Loki never actually got to stand before a judge for his crime of against the timeline.
Mm.
But I'm wondering, like, other people who did, they're basically getting in trouble for not following a plot that they're not supposed to know about anyway. Like, technically, time is set. Like, whatever's going to happen to you in the future is going to happen to you, but we don't know that. So let's just say I were to veer off that path. How would I know that I'm veering off a path that's set for me if I don't know what that path is? So the fact that the variants are even going to court for these crimes is crazy. But then what's happening during that sentencing? Is that when, they're given the, like, what, that's what I wish we got to see, and we never got to see that, because I'm wondering if that's how they become TVA agents.
No, well, I think it goes back to something that was said about how they monitor the timeline. Like right now, they're supposed to be looking at all. Basically, they're doing what Doctor Strange did in Infinity War, right? They're
Mm-hmm.
looking at all of the various outcomes, and they're deciding which one they want to happen, and that is the sacred timeline. And then so they're trying to create the perfect ending to time, and that will be that's hypothetically where the TVA agents would then meet them at the end, and they would celebrate their perfect ending together. So what's happening is
Wait,
it's the,
explain that.
so the variants, right? Like a variant is just, it seems like based off that explanation, if the timekeepers are just dictating what they want to happen in the future and they're choosing which events are okay and which ones aren't, then the variant timelines are basically just people just making free will decisions that the timekeepers decided wasn't what was in the best interest of the sacred timeline, and they're now being destroyed because of it.
Got you. Okay.
So like the free will thing does exist, like but you're being punished for exerting free will because you that choice was not what the timekeepers dictated as the proper outcome of that event.
So I get that. How does the sentencing work? That's what I want to know. Like,
Because
how did C20 go from, a person who just enjoys margaritas to a timekeeper that was held captive for hundreds of years? Like, what did C20's trial look like? What happened at the trial that she went from a variant to a time an agent of the time of the TVA? That's what I'm questioning. Like, what does that look like? How are they brainwashing these people? Is it like, um, Wanda, how she just has people under a spell and it's just so simple that she doesn't even know how she's doing it? Or is there some sort of design to it?
There's definitely a design to it. So the timekeepers are using that. I would say they're using the same magic that Wanda used in WandaVision, and they're using that to brainwash these people into becoming agents. Like they're creating that false reality that Wanda was creating for everyone in Westview, but they're doing it intentionally. Like, it's not an accident. Like they're totally doing this on purpose, and it's to help them maintain the variance within the timeline, so they don't have to focus as much on the variants that are happening within the the timeline in the sacred timeline. Like they can just focus on building out this, or not building, but guiding the uh, decisions that happen on the sacred timeline.
I told myself I was not going to do a deep dive, and now I'm thinking so hard about what should have been a simpler episode.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, like, the show is really addressing a lot of the time science of the MCU, which I think is cool. I'm not saying that that's like a concrete thing, but it seems like that's the inference, because I don't believe, one, I'm on the bandwagon that the timekeepers are evil. Well, they're not evil, but they're not they're not good, because you're robbing people of free, you're punishing people for free will, because they've made decisions. It could simply be something as simple as like, um, you know, in that variant timeline, C20, instead of going to her favorite margarita place, she went to a different place, and because she went to that different place, TVA agent showed up and boom, got her out of here, because that wasn't what was supposed to happen according to the timekeepers during that time juncture.
I'm questioning the existence of the timekeepers because Marvel does not give us invisible villains. Like we got to see Thanos, even though he was all CGI'd out. We got to see him at the end of the first Avengers film, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Like we knew he was someone who was big and bad and worthy of attention. The timekeepers, the people who control all time, and we've never even seen them. All we saw is that little clip that Miss Minutes gave us. I don't even know if I believe that.
Yeah, and then the statues that are in the TVA
Right.
headquarters.
Like
Yeah,
Marvel likes giving the villain the attention. So the fact that we have not seen the timekeeper speaks volumes to me. Somebody else is pulling the strings.
yeah, it's possible. Like, I mean, it could be that it's, maybe it's Ravonna. Like, maybe there are no timekeepers. Maybe she's the one that's doing it.
It's somebody, and now
And I think Loki knows who it is. I mean, not Loki, but Sylvie knows who it is.
oh, she's. I'm sure Sylvie knows exactly what the TVA is, and I hope we learn all of that next week. I
I,
really do.
I think
Next,
so, because it's interesting that they revealed all of that at the end of the episode before the planet decided to implode, and and then all of a sudden it went into chaos. So it, I think all of that. I think she will reveal her grand scheme, believing that all is at an end anyway, so it doesn't really matter. I think she will confess what her plans are, and in that confession, she will reveal to Loki, you know, what it is the TVA actually are and what the real threat is. Um, and then all of a sudden he's gonna pull that temp pad out of the dimension. That's my theory for the next week's episode. And then yes, she will be pissed.
all right, I'm ready for next week. I'm not gonna think about the timekeepers anymore because it's gonna give me a headache. But I'm definitely ready for next week. I'm excited. I'm upset that the show is only going to be 6 episodes.
I know this
Like
this this
this
could have been like 10 or 12.
yes. Didn't we get 9 episodes of WandaVision?
I believe we did. Yeah, we
Man,
got six. We got 6 episodes of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. 9 episodes of WandaVision. This definitely could have been like in that 9 to, I'd say 9 to 12, excuse me, 9 to 12 episode arc.
I would have been happy with 8. 6 is too short.
Yeah, six is way too short. Like I understand Falcon and the Winter Soldier being 6 because that was supposed to be a movie anyway. Um, but this being 6 episodes feels criminal. Like that's y'all. Hopefully next season, because I don't think that they're gonna have this be one season. This is way too good of a show, and Loki being a fan favorite, especially with MCU fans. Like I don't see this being one season.
I at least, well, one thing I'm sad about it being 6 episodes, but the episodes are really long. So that
Yeah,
that makes me feel a
that
little bit
does help. That does
like
help.
I'm I think for the first 2 episodes we were sitting down for almost an hour. Today's episode was 42 minutes. Like if they can keep up with that pace, then I mean I'm still gonna be sad, but I'm not too excited about it. Excuse me,
Yeah,
I'm still gonna be sad, but I don't know.
you're not gonna be upset. You'll be like It'll have this will be something that you can like watch in like it has it right now. It feels like it has a high replay value based off these
Yes.
first 3 episodes. We'll see how the season concludes, but right now it's off to a strong start for sure. Being at the halfway point, which feels weird to be only 3 episodes in. But yeah, I think it seems like the internet has reacted well to Sylvie and Loki on screen in the first place in this episode. So if that trend continues, if this ends well, Loki and Sylvie, a show with those two as the stars, could be something that we see in the future. Maybe
Um,
not a season 2 of Loki per se, but it could be a continuation of this whatever they do this time heist. If let's say they take over the TVA, I don't know, whatever happens, but I can see this continuing.
I absolutely agree that this has high replay value, so much more than WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I do not want to watch those again. I said the entire time that Falcon and the Winter Soldier was out, that I was on, that I would want to watch it together. Since it was a movie that they broke up, it would be nice to just see it through from beginning to end. But I'm not interested in watching it again. I don't think I needed to. It wasn't that captivating. But this, like, I want to watch today's episode again.
Hmm. Yeah, and then I think especially as we, depending on how connected it is, because it does seem like it's a little bit more connected to the movies, or at least the future movies, than WandaVision and Falcon and Winter Soldier did. We'll have to see, because at the time WandaVision felt like it had a lot of potential to be connected to Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, and it was confirmed that Doctor Strange was originally going to be in the show. They wrote that out due to COVID, because they had to push the movie back, because that was originally the Multiverse of Madness was supposed to come out this year. It would have came out right after, and he was going to be in the show. Like even he was actually supposed to be who was speaking to WandaVision through the commercials. Not WandaVision, but Wanda through the commercials. So like all those rumored tie-ins and connections were there. They just got altered due to COVID, because I think they overreacted to the films being pushed back. But hopefully none of that affected Loki. Doesn't seem like it thus far. We'll see how it concludes, but I think this will have strong connections to the movies, a lot stronger than the Falcon and the Winter Soldier and WandaVision did.
I'm looking right now. When's the new release date for Multiverse of Madness? Is now going to come out on March 25th, 2022. I wonder how long it's going to take for them to get back on page. Like, I don't want another show that's supposed to coincide with a movie to come out, but well before the movie anymore. Well, we haven't gotten any other release dates for shows. I don't even think we got an official date for What If. So I have a feeling that Marvel is going to chill on Disney Plus for a bit and roll these movies out, and we're not going to see another show for a while. We might see What If. Also, was it
August? No,
in
that
the
What If comes out in August. That comes out August of this year.
was it in the Discord that I saw a rumor that What If is actually um the just a whole bunch of variants?
That was speculation. That was not a rumor, or that's just a theory and a
Gotcha.
speculation. However, I've heard that um, the What If show is going to be pretty. It's going to explore some things that could become things later on in the MCU, depending on how they're received. Like some of these, I don't want to misquote because it's, but it seemed like it was implied that the What If show could be setting up some potential spin-offs or like different variations of certain characters that we could see or appear in different in things moving forward. So it's not just a show about like hypothetical situations. It's things that could actually happen.
Got you. I'm excited. I think that's. I'm not going to do any more speculation. I say that every time. I'm done speculating.
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
going to just sit back and enjoy everything Marvel has to offer, and I'm ready for the movies, and I'm definitely ready for next week's episode of Loki.
yeah. Well, we're too far out from What If because we don't have an actual day in August when it's going to be released. I'm pretty sure they will ramp up the promotion for the show as we get closer to August, and definitely after the Loki show is concluded, which is in 3 weeks. So without it put us mid July, second to last week in July,
I think
just
so.
roundabout. So then I'm the Loki show, for instance, definitely got a lot more press and media and like commercials than I think WandaVision did, and definitely more so than
They
Falcon and
have
the Winter
they hyped
Soldier.
it up more.
So I'm thinking, right, like if they're spending that much money on the marketing of the show, it's far more important to the MCU than the other shows were. Not to say that they're not important shows, but like clearly they want people to watch this. So I'm going to gauge how integral What If is on how ramped up the marketing gets later in July. Like if it's you know, kind of lackluster, they're not really pushing the show, then it's probably not going to be as significant, at least within the next 2 to 3 years to the MCU as one might hope. But it's definitely worth. I'm interested in it. That's for sure. Like I'm gonna watch it because I think it's an interesting show concept.
Park Outdoors, I absolutely agree. They're definitely pushing them more once they're all up there. But I think that's to support binge culture because there are a whole bunch of people like I've spoken to people who won't watch the show until it's all out so that they can binge it. There are just a lot of people that like that.
I've got like I think Lou, that was hilarious. It was good to see him yesterday too,
Yes.
to pop up. But like I'm with him. Like I think I've got binge fatigue because there's a lot of shows that are on like Netflix and things that like are they're binge shows, but I just can't. I don't stay locked in like because I'm like I don't have one being committed to like a season worth of content within a like a weekend. I don't have the time right now because like this right here takes up a lot of because this is like a lot of preparation and research and things that we have to do and watching these shows and being able to like talk about this stuff. So it's like that one takes up a lot of time, and then it's easier when it's a weekly release to kind of just be prepared and have things to talk about with the show because I can't imagine trying to review an entire season of a show in like an episode because that's what you would have to do with one of these binge series.
Binging was cool when like Netflix first started dropping everything. Like when Orange is the New Black, that first season did that. They did that by accident. That was fun. But now that every single channel and everybody has their own streaming service and every streaming service has like at least 15 original shows, it's too much.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's to the point where I'm even having a hard time catching up with shows with weekly releases now. I'm having to pick and choose. You know, a lot of people are like, Imani, you should watch this. Imani, you should watch that. I cannot watch it all. I'm so sorry. It's just difficult.
Yeah, and it's like it is the volume of shows definitely doesn't help, but it does help that being weekly, you're not too far behind on things because even if you go like couple weeks, on a 10 to 12 episode season where everything is coming out once a week, if you get behind 2 to 3 weeks, like on that fourth week, you can catch up and then watch the new episode and be fine, and then just still be in the loop. You're not going to be too far behind. But like with those binge shows, like once people have seen the entire season, it's like you really can't say or do anything until you finish watching it. Like, so it's I don't know. I do the volume of streaming platforms has hurt, I think, in my opinion, the binging, because it's just way too many platforms now with shows and content. And low, Netflix benefited from the scarcity and it being basically the big powerhouse on the block. But
Mm-hmm.
now they're not that anymore. So they've got real good competition. And I mean, Disney has really applied pressure. Like HBO, the wild thing is HBO Max should have been the one that kind of sort of took the crown, but they just don't push their content enough. Like Disney is like a marketing powerhouse, man. Like they make sure everybody is in the know about what they've got going on and gets everyone on board. Like they really latch on to that family friendly marketing and content that they create, and that really has put a lot of pressure on Netflix.
Absolutely.
Anyway, I think that's all I've got to say for Loki. I'm definitely looking forward to next week's episode, as we said like a million times. Um,
That's all I got too. That was a great episode. I'm definitely hyped for next week, and I'm going to be sad when the show ends. The last episode will be on July 14th.
yeah, man, that's gonna be, well, it could definitely either it's going to be, I think, a bittersweet end because one, I've enjoyed the show so much, but two, hopefully it'll set up a lot of hype for what is to come. That's what I want. I want a really strong ending to the season, and I want it to set up a lot of things and get me excited for the future of Marvel.
I think it will. Hing, you here just in time for us to leave.
Right, showed up right for us right at the conclusion. But where can they find us on social?
As always, please follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch at Certified Gumbo. Thank you for watching. Please like this video and subscribe to our channel. I need to start saying that at the beginning of the show also. Um, If you enjoyed today's show, please support us by buying us some coffee. And as always, join us on Discord. We talk about this stuff all day, every day in the chat. So please, the link to both the coffee page and the Discord are down below. Coop, Bad Batch on Friday?
Absolutely. Bad Batch episode 9 will debut Friday, 3 a.m. in the morning. If you are interested in watching that at 3 a.m., good for you. I'm not probably, but I will be reviewing the episode at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here on this channel. So be sure you tune into that. Make sure you just watch it before then. Or, if you don't care about spoilers and you just want to hear me talk about the Bad Batch and Star Wars in general, yeah, tune in. Check me out. 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here on this channel. And then we will be back with you guys with the cookout next Tuesday. We're going to finish our MCU ranking.
Yes. Start the show with that. That way we get it done.
Yes. We're not right now. We're not going to commit to any other topics.
Yes.
We're going to do this, and then if we might do like a community discussion. But that will probably be the episode. It's just finishing out the Marvel film rankings of the Sony Marvel movies, the Fox Marvel movies, and the Disney Marvel movies, and then everything else in between. So that's what we're going to commit to. That way we can move into DC, or DC is next, right? I'm not jumping ahead.
DC is next. I'm nervous about it, but DC is next.
DC is next. And yeah, that's all I got. As I always say, peace, love, blessings, and may the force be with you always.